America is at war with terror.
We're at war. We're having a series of attacks today.
America is at war with terror.
We're at war. We're absolutely at war. This is 21st century war.
I said I feel speak, Lord, speak to me. I am saying, speak, Lord, speak to me.
42nd Street, 44,
'Cause I feel
stay clear the doors, please.
Going on. I said I feel like going on. So let a mother say amen. Let a father say amen. Everybody say amen. Amen, y'all. Thank God for another day. Thank God for the last 5 minutes. Because we are at war. And the only thing war means is a lot of people gonna die. And it won't be the government. Because they very well protect.
34th Street, Penn Station,
Amen. And it don't take a genius to figure out who it's gonna be. After 50,000 people, y'all. It don't take a genius to figure it out. Amen. One question for you folks. Do y'all know why we at war? Anybody on this train know why we at war?
I said when the sun comes up today that there's going to be an aftermath, and people are going to want to have a way to vent their pain, you know. And I thought this might do some healing, and apparently it's doing that. I've seen some amazing things happen here today. People crying, people arguing, people laughing, people singing. You know, and I haven't seen people do that as a body of people, you know, as a community of people do that in quite a long time.
We're under attack because if somebody attacked my house, I would defend myself. This is no time for diplomacy. I don't think that we should be talking a lot. I think that we should find out who did it. I think a lot of people know who did it, and we should just go out there and get them.
Some people are crying because that was their family, Mommy.
You know, it's like the people who did it should be punished. But I mean, that's not gonna, you know, there might be 3,000, 4,000, I don't know. You know, average day is 50,000 people down there. Who knows how many people are under that building? You know, I mean, how do you punish somebody for that? You know, I mean, what can you do to them? You know? So what do we do? Go blow up a whole bunch of Afghani cities and Palestinian villages, and then this shit escalates to another level of stupidity, you know. The answer, you know, at first I was angry and I was saying, yeah, we should go fuck them up. But I mean, when you think about it, that's not going to solve the problem. You know? So it's time for people to like really sit back and think. I mean, and if the Afghani people that are in charge have any kind of sense, if that's the person that's responsible, they should just give that motherfucker up, man. Just give him up. I mean, it's not worth it.
Peoples and other families, religions, countries, business, it's none of our concern. The reason why is because their dignity, I would like to have still on the floor. And their honor as people is still on the floor.
And we had to literally retrain my bigot relatives. We had to say to them, you can't have that. You have to give in.
A lot of people were talking about this was worse than Pearl Harbor, so I just wrote, if this is worse than Pearl Harbor, will we do something worse than Hiroshima?
Where is God? Why would God let this happen? Why would God let this happen? If there isn't God, why would He let this war happen? Why would He let people die? Innocent people die. If there is God, He would protect. He would defend us. But if there isn't God, where is He? Why isn't He defending us? Why isn't He helping us? Why are we in a moral of like, we don't know what's going on?
I don't know what we should do, but I mean, part of it is thinking about what leads up to this in the first place, and how to have a response that maybe gets the people that are responsible, but doesn't kill more innocent people. And a lot of people, we've been lucky not to go through this. Other people have gone through this for a long time.
I mean, just the fact that, you know, I'm of Arab, you know, ethnicity, and I'm Egyptian of origin. You know, everybody, a lot of people, not everybody, of course, a lot of people are very, very understanding and willing to listen, you know, but several people, they came, and I don't blame them, you know, they're blind with emotion right now. But I stood here and I tried to withstand as much punishment as I could, just because I think that's the harder thing to do, is to struggle. I mean, peace only comes with struggle, man, and it only comes with like a common understanding.
Someone wrote, I don't want peace, I want justice, and so I wrote, your justice is my injustice, because if they're saying that peace is not involved in their attaining of their justice, then it immediately affects me and the whole rest of the world.
Some of you may think it's very disrespectful of me to stand here with this, identifying myself as a Middle Eastern, as a Muslim. No, not at all.
Thank you for your bravery.
I just want to say, for me and for thousands of people in the city, it's been hard whether to decide we want to go out to get groceries or not. Okay? That's because we're afraid. We're afraid that what happened will end up in violence against us. And that has happened. That's not unreal. Last night in Queens, 2 people were shot in a grocery store. 2 Yemenis people. Just people came into the grocery store, shot the guys because they were Muslim, because they look like Middle Easterns. Yesterday in Flatbush, cars were broken into because they had Arabic prayers written on them. Now this is real. I just want to tell people I understand what's going on in our countries. We live what you just went through every day. We know what it means to go out on the street and be afraid that a bomb is going to explode on us.
أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله.
The Muslim community of America, we are really scared. Couple of places we are attack our mosque, but we love this beautiful land, America.
The first images that came up on TV were images of Osama bin Laden, the Taliban in Afghanistan, Palestinian children celebrating. And it seemed somewhat peculiar that before anything, what we were being bombarded with were images of a so-called enemy who had a beard, who wore a turban, who were dark-skinned in complexion. And I just wonder, why is it that we're being constantly hit with these images of consolation by the president and other politically correct language of politicians saying that we shouldn't be angry at the Muslims and attack Muslims in this country, yet showing images only of Muslim people being involved in these attacks.
Like Christian, they have many Protestant, Catholic, Muslim has many part. But Taliban is not Islam. Osama bin Laden is not Islam.
It's interesting that the focus of the media's imagery of Afghanistan has been also a very Semitic type of appearance. Osama bin Laden, who is a Semite from Saudi Arabia, not Afghanistani, is also being kind of heralded as the, typical Afghanistani.
Terrorist has no nation, no color, no any religion, no. They are terrorists. They are different. I believe, my opinion.
In times of great passion and emotion, we tend not to ask ourselves, why are we seeing the images that we are? Why are we being told what we are? We often want immediate consolation. We often want an immediate solution to an answer that's not easily rectifiable. And so we seek out an enemy, someone to blame, someone to point a finger at. And I think that's something that's being pandered to.
I personally have a thing about flags, but I'm sort of I'm gonna separate my feelings, my own personal feelings and my own ideologies, and just want to do something for the neighborhood, because this is my neighborhood, and I have friends of friends that passed away, so I basically just want to do this in homage to all the all the city workers, firefighters, police, people, workers, regular Joes that lost their lives in this crazy war we got going on. I don't think it'll help you bomb any particular country at this point in time, because we're really never going to get to the root of the problem. If you want to get to the root of the problem, don't go around bombing innocent people like the terrorists couldn't get to the root of the problem, so they bombed innocent people. They took and slammed a couple of planes and thought that was the way, but it isn't. It just catapulted and snowballed into something beyond our means of control. Now the president's got the A-OK to do anything, so you know where that's gonna go. That's gonna take it somewhere real bad.
It's difficult to know how to speak about the events of Tuesday of last week. Any attempt at explanation risks sounding to others like a justification.
This is an act of mass murder. It's an act of terrorism and has to be condemned.
Understanding, rather than the bombers now on their way to Afghanistan, is the only possible means to making sure that we don't have to endure an event like that again.
It comes from somewhere. It comes from some experience with American power in some sense, political power, economic power, cultural power, right? We all educated ourselves about Vietnam, we educated ourselves about Central America, we learned about a lot of places that most Americans had never heard of before, and figured out who is what and what the political and social forces were. We can do the same thing about the Middle East. It's not unknowable.
Since the 1950s, the United States has helped keep unpopular and corrupt regimes in power in most of the Middle East, and in some cases helped overthrow or destabilize the relatively popular ones. The Mossadegh regime in Iran, government in Iran in 1953 is, of course, one of the well-known ones.
Also, our policy vis-a-vis Palestine and Israel is problematic to many Muslims.
And people can see on their television sets Palestinians being shot and killed every day by, again, an Israel that's armed and financed and backed diplomatically only by the United States.
Both the steady reorganization of wealth and power and the repression that keeps it in place are supported by the United States. Its economic advisors play a day-to-day role in those corrupt government ministries. The United States Army uses military bases in the country, and it supplies the military and the policing equipment that keeps the regime in power. In 1990, Iraq invaded Kuwait, as you know. America responded with a war that may have killed 200,000 Iraqi conscripts, and with a sanctions regime that is said to have led to the deaths of 1 million Iraqis, half of them children.
Supporting a regime in Saudi Arabia, which admittedly does send a lot of relatively cheap oil to the United States and to its allies, and this yields great profits for American corporations, but brutally represses its own people.
The presence of US troops in Saudi Arabia and in the Gulf is also very problematic because many Muslims regard the oil reserves of that part of the world to be to belong to all of the Muslims, and they don't like seeing them under the control of a foreign power, which they obviously are.
The Taliban during the Cold War was actually a creation of the United States and Pakistan.
The Soviet Union had invaded Afghanistan, and Washington saw an opportunity to make its life difficult. With the help of the Saudi and the Pakistan governments, the CIA undertook the biggest secret American war in history. For the people of Afghanistan, more years of horror, of civil war, and then the puritanical and horribly repressive order of the Taliban.
It's been one disastrous policy after another, and all within the same framework. And it's led us to this terrible moment when finally those chickens have come home to roost. Anyone who commits this kind of attack, who commits mass murder against civilians, is warped. But they're not stupid, and they are very much hoping that George Bush and his administration walk right into the trap they've laid.
This would not likely hurt the Islamic groups who are small, dispersed, and anyhow do not fear death. But it would force the regimes of the Middle East to ally themselves and support this alien violence.
I think that if we militarily defeat them, which I'm sure we can, I mean, for that matter, we could turn the whole of Afghanistan to a sheet of glass with a nuclear weapon, but that will not solve the problem, because there are many, many more people like them who will be willing to commit the kinds of crimes we saw last week.
There will be more days like September 11th in this country, and a lot more days like September 11th, as there have been many days like September 11th in many countries around the world. And I don't think we want to live like that, and I know no one else on the planet wants to live like that. And this is a turning point, because we're headed down a very dangerous road of confrontation, of states falling apart, of bloody war, and not just over there, but here as well, in ways that none of us want to think about if we don't find some way out of this.
What we need to do now is just pray and pull together with each other and just help each other get through this.
What impressed me most? The willingness to help.
It's gonna
fly to the sky to stop war. I hope.
Monday, I was able to give the American Red Cross $4,370, and that was a simple.
I'm not getting paid for this. I'm doing it just to, ease up on my mind. And people seem to like it. I mean, my reaction with people, I've been on this block for a few years and I haven't talked to so many people.
Basically, I get $1. People take photos, they put $1 in my boot. 25% of which goes to the Red Cross.
I think I felt vulnerable for the first time. I mean, personally vulnerable. I've even been in war zones, and somehow I had the sort of, even though I'm a critic of America often, I had the American ideology, which nothing was going to touch me. And all of a sudden, I'm watching this building burning and then crumbling a half mile away, and I realized, oh yeah, it can touch me.
People who have been touched by this directly, people who saw it happen, people who lost friends or colleagues or families, have an almost visceral revulsion for the idea of more destruction and more mountains of rubble with people trapped beneath. We can't walk through the streets right now without being constantly reminded of the devastation. You come across a fire station that's lost 15 of its men, or you come across the missing posters of people who are not going to be found, or you have the horrible smell everywhere if the wind's blowing in your direction. People here are very much in grief and mourning, but I think that the response from a lot of people here proves that you don't have to channel mourning and grief into jingoism and revenge.
You saw those buildings explode and it said to you, oh wait, I saw them explode in Iraq too, and oh, that's what it meant. It didn't just mean that something was hitting a target and it was very beautiful. I think people are having that response. I felt so proud of the way New York reacts. Isn't this park wonderful, where people have their memorials out for people who are dead, and they have their flags out, and they seem to find that there's nothing contradictory between that and the peace symbols that are all around. In fact, it's almost as if the hippie incense and peace symbols were a religious sacrament to many New Yorkers who really have suffered a loss. I felt like we were colonized when the president came in and started behaving differently than the rest of us were behaving to what was our crisis. A different sound came out. I thought we were terrific. I love New York.
The way that the Bush administration has manipulated this event into drums of war, into this illegitimate and inaccurate sense that all of the people of the country are calling for this bloody reaction. That's what's really insensitive and manipulative. I think perhaps the most sensitive thing to do is to be sensitive to the pain not only here that we have felt, but the pain all around the world. To allow this event to penetrate our hearts and to open our hearts.
What this made me feel is not only am I responsible for people in the South because I feel bad as a privileged first worlder. This really drove home to me. I'm responsible for people in the South because they're also responsible for my well-being. You know what I mean? I mean, what this really drove home is this is the impact of 50 years of building economic structures which decimate the South.
Terrorists don't need bombs, terrorists don't need airplanes, terrorists don't need bridges, they don't need factories, they don't need anything that you can bomb out of existence. What they need is desperation. What they need is horrendous inequity and political violence around the world.
The solution is for America to look at itself and see how our actions led to this strike, and to realize that when you continue continually bomb people and they have nothing to lose, eventually they're going to strike you back.
What I think we're formulating now as the beginning of a peace movement mixed with an anti-globalization movement is figuring out how we can still, even more than ever now, create another society. The slogan that another world is possible is not only appropriate, it is crucial. And we must make a new society so that we don't have wars.
1,750 and still counting. $4,800 and counting.
You know what? I'm old. We thought we knew something in the 60s. I jumped back in and I couldn't believe what people with pink hair and nipple rings know about economics. And I don't want to see that submerge because they knew they had a vision of the kind of world they wanted, and it wasn't anti-global, it was global in the best way. And I don't want to see that submerged, even though of course we have to do whatever we can to keep this war from being a war.
War is not the answer. War is not the answer. Peace. War is not the answer. War is not the answer. Peace. War is not the answer. War is not the answer. Peace. War is not the answer. War is not the answer. Peace.
We can build a peace movement informed by a globalization analysis, which invokes our best virtues, our virtues of cooperation, our desire for love, our desire for peace, that doesn't come out of shame or guilt, and that doesn't come out of knee-jerk fear or hate. And I think that's something that we have been able to learn from the globalization struggle. We've been able to learn the ways in which struggle for a better world is deeply better for us. It makes us better people. It makes us better. It gives us better communities. A better world is better for everyone.